Your daughter could have married a doctor or a lawyer, not some failed musician who teaches high school, my son-in-law Bradley announced at Sunday brunch, gesturing dismissively toward where my daughter Emma sat with her husband James. She deserves better than living paycheck to paycheck. The buzzing phone in my pocket wasn't a social call, it was my private investigator with preliminary findings that would flip this entire conversation on its head. The country club's dining room overlooked manicured golf courses where Bradley claimed to close his biggest deals. He insisted on hosting this family brunch to celebrate his promotion to senior partner at his investment firm. Though it felt more like an opportunity to lecture us about success and poor life choices, specifically Emma's choice to marry James 5 years ago. Bradley, his wife Catherine said weakly, my other daughter always the peacemaker, that's unnecessary. Is it though? He adjusted his Rolex, the same Rolex he'd mentioned 3 times already. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. Emma had options. Remember that tech guy from San Francisco? The one with the startup? He's worth $40 million now. And James is worth everything to me, Emma said quietly, reaching for her husband's hand. Worth doesn't pay mortgages, Bradley countered. When's the last time you two took a real vacation? Not camping, I mean a real vacation. Resorts, first-class flights, experiences worth having. James shifted uncomfortably in his seat. At 32, he taught music at the local high school and played jazz gigs on weekends. His students adored him, he'd never missed a rent payment, and he looked at my daughter like she hung the moon. But in Bradley's world, none of that registered as success. We were in Portland last month, James offered. For a teaching conference, Bradley scoffed. That's work, not leisure. Catherine and I just booked 2 weeks in Turks and Caicos. Private villa, personal chef. That's what Emma could have had. My phone buzzed again. Detective Morrison rarely called twice unless something significant surfaced. 20 years of running background checks for my international consulting firm had taught me that the loudest voices often had the most to hide. Success means different things to different people, I said, pouring more tea with steady hands. No offense, Helen, Bradley turned his attention to me, but that's what unsuccessful people say to feel better. Success is measurable. Net worth, property ownership, portfolio diversity. James has none of those. I have a pension, James said with a small smile. A teacher's pension. Bradley made it sound like a disease. Do you know what inflation will do to that in 30 years? Meanwhile, real successful men are building generational wealth. Like you? Emma asked, an edge creeping into her voice. Exactly like me. Senior partner at 35. 7-figure salary. Investment properties. When Catherine and I have children, they'll want for nothing. Private schools, trust funds, every opportunity. He looked pointedly at James. Can you say the same? Bradley, Catherine tried again, but he was building momentum. I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm being realistic. Emma's beautiful, intelligent, from a good family, no offense, Helen, you did well for a single mother. She could have leveraged those assets into a beneficial marriage. Leveraged my assets? Emma's voice went cold. I'm not a portfolio, Bradley. Everything's a portfolio. Your choices, your connections, your future. You chose, poorly. My phone rang this time. Morrison's name flashed on the screen. Excuse me, I said, standing. I need to take this. Of course she does, Bradley muttered. Probably one of those international clients she's always mysterious about. I stepped onto the terrace, answering quickly. What did you find? More than you bargained for, Morrison's gravelly voice carried years of experience. Bradley Thompson isn't who he claims to be. Explain. Start with the basics. That Rolex? Fake. Good fake, but fake. The Porsche he drove here? Leased, 3 months behind on payments. But that's just the appetizer. Go on. Your son-in-law has $2.3 million in hidden debt. Gambling debts mostly, some bad investments he's been hiding from his firm. He's been moving money around to cover it, but the house of cards is about to collapse. How close to collapse? Weeks, maybe days. His firm's conducting an internal audit next month. When they find what I found. He didn't need to finish. What about Catherine? Does she know? Doubtful. He's got separate credit cards she doesn't know about, accounts in just his name. He's been funneling her trust fund payments to cover minimums. She thinks they're investing for the future. He's stealing from my daughter? Legally gray area since they're married, but ethically? Yeah. He's burning through her inheritance to maintain appearances. Send me everything. Already in your encrypted folder. Helen, there's more. That promotion he's celebrating? Doesn't exist. He's actually on probation for underperforming. The Turks and Caicos trip? Paid for with a credit card that's about to be frozen. I ended the call and stood for a moment, watching through the glass as Bradley continued his performance. Catherine sat beside him, unaware her husband was drowning them both. Emma and James held hands under the table, weathering Bradley's assault with quiet dignity. The investigator I'd hired to run a routine check on James 5 years ago, yes, I'm that mother, had found nothing but a man who'd put himself through college teaching piano lessons, who sent half his small inheritance to support his elderly parents, who'd never had so much as a parking ticket. Bradley, who'd inserted himself into our family 2 years ago with flash and promises, had never triggered my radar until today. Sometimes the real threats come wearing expensive suits and false confidence. I returned to the table as Bradley was mid-lecture about investment strategies. Diversification is key. James, you should really let me manage your portfolio. What little there is. That's kind of you, James replied with the patience of someone who dealt with teenagers daily. It's not kindness, it's pity. Emma deserves security. Real security. Not whatever this is. He gestured vaguely at James's existence. My phone buzzed with another text. Morrison, check the news Monday. His firm's merger is falling through. Stock's about to tank. Bradley, I said calmly, resuming my seat. Tell us about this promotion. Senior partner is quite an achievement. He preened, adjusting that fake Rolex again. Well, when you deliver results like I do, advancement is inevitable. My clients trust me completely. All of them? Something flickered in his eyes. Of course. Even the Henderson account? I heard they were reconsidering their options. The blood drained from his face. Who told you about Henderson? I have friends everywhere. International consulting requires extensive networks. What exactly is it you consult on? His voice had lost its confident edge. Risk assessment. Due diligence. Background verification for high-stakes contracts. I smiled pleasantly. You'd be amazed what people hide. I'm sure it's fascinating, he said weakly. Emma was watching me now with the look she'd perfected as a teenager, the one that said she knew I was up to something. It is, I agreed. For instance, did you know that 60% of financial fraud is committed by people in positions of trust? Senior partners, for example. Mom, Catherine said nervously, why are we talking about fraud? Just sharing interesting statistics. Here's another one, the average gambling debt in America is $50,000. But some people go much higher. Millions, even. Bradley's hand trembled as he reached for his water glass. Gambling is for idiots. I agree. So is lying to your spouse about money. Taking their trust fund. Hiding debts that could destroy their future. Helen, he said, attempting his earlier bravado, I don't appreciate these implications, I'm not implying anything. I'm speaking generally. Although, I pulled out my phone, I did receive some interesting information during my call. What kind of information? Catherine asked, looking between us. Should I share it now, Bradley? Or would you prefer to tell Catherine privately about the $2.3 million you owe? About the gambling debts? The fraudulent credit cards? The fact that her trust fund has been keeping you afloat? The silence was absolute. Even the ambient country club chatter seemed to pause. That's ridiculous, Bradley stammered. Catherine, she's lying. Am I? I slid my phone across the table. Morrison's security is very thorough. Bank statements, credit reports, casino records. Did you know the Bellagio photographs everyone who owes over $100,000? Catherine picked up the phone with shaking hands, scrolling through the evidence. Her face went from confusion to horror to rage in seconds. My trust fund? Her voice was barely a whisper. You said we were investing it. Baby, I can explain. $2.3 million? Her voice rose. We've been married 18 months and you've hidden $2 million in debt. It's not what it looks like. It looks like fraud, I said helpfully. Also embezzlement, since some of that money came from your firm's client accounts. You don't know that. Henderson Industries hired me to investigate why their portfolio was underperforming. Imagine their surprise when we traced suspicious transfers to personal accounts. Your personal accounts. Bradley stood abruptly, knocking over his water glass. This is entrapment. This is consequences, I corrected. You spent 40 minutes insulting my daughter's husband for being unsuccessful while stealing from your wife and employer. The irony is rather poetic. James might not have a 7-figure salary, Emma said, finding her voice, but he's never stolen a penny. He's never lied to me. He's never gambled away money we don't have. Your musician husband is still a nobody, Bradley spat, desperation making him vicious. My nobody husband, Emma said proudly, has zero debt, owns our condo outright because he saved for 10 years, and has never needed to tear others down to feel successful. He also has something you'll never have, integrity. Catherine, Bradley turned to his wife, we should go. We'll discuss this privately. We'll discuss this with lawyers, Catherine said, still staring at the evidence. My lawyers. The ones my trust fund will now be paying for. You can't, we're married. For 18 months. In California. I'll take half of nothing and call it a win. She looked at me. How long have you known? About an hour. I had Morrison run a basic check after Bradley's performance today. Rich people who brag about wealth usually don't have any. But you checked James before he married Emma, she said. It wasn't a question. Of course I did. Found a man who lived within his means, loved my daughter, and had nothing to hide. The opposite of your husband. Bradley grabbed his keys, to the Porsche he couldn't afford, and stormed out. Catherine didn't follow. Sorry, she said to Emma and James. I didn't know he was. I thought we were building something real. You were, James said gently. He was building a house of cards. There's a difference. How did I not see it? Because he was good at the performance, I said. The watch, the car, the attitude, all designed to distract from the truth. Real security doesn't need to announce itself. Emma moved to comfort her sister. You'll be okay. The trust fund is mostly gone, Catherine finished. He had access for over a year. I'm basically starting over. Then you'll stay with us, James offered without hesitation. We have a spare room. It's not Turks and Caicos, but it's safe. Catherine started crying. After everything he said about you, and your offering. Family helps family, Emma said simply. That's what real success looks like. We spent the rest of brunch dealing with practical matters. Catherine called her father's lawyer. I connected her with a forensic accountant. James offered to help her find a rental once she was ready. The high school music teacher Bradley had mocked was now housing the woman whose lifestyle he'd envied. I need to ask, Catherine said as we prepared to leave. Why did you really investigate Bradley today? You don't usually act on hunches. I considered my answer. When someone spends that much energy declaring others' failures, they're usually hiding their own. Plus, anyone who measures worth solely in dollars has already told you they have nothing else to offer. James never talks about money, Emma observed. Because he has other things to talk about, I said. His students, his music, his plans for the summer program he's starting. Successful people discuss ideas. Insecure people discuss other people's perceived failures. Bradley discussed money constantly, Catherine realized. Every conversation. Every dinner. It was all he had. And now it's all gone, Emma said. While James still has everything that actually mattered, his integrity, his career, his relationships. We walked to the parking lot where Bradley's Porsche had left tire marks, probably the last time he drove it before the lease company reclaimed it. Next to it, James's 10-year-old Honda sat quietly reliable. Thank you, Catherine said to James. For offering your home. For not rubbing this in. For being exactly who you are. Bradley was wrong about one thing, James replied. Emma didn't marry down. She married someone who knew the difference between net worth and self-worth. That's the only success that matters. As we drove home, Catherine riding with Emma and James, me following in my own car, I thought about success and how we measure it. Bradley would likely face criminal charges. His firm would fire him. His debts would follow him for years. The man who'd proclaimed himself superior was about to discover what real failure looked like. Meanwhile, James would go to school Monday and teach teenagers to find their voice through music. He'd come home to a wife who loved him and a sister-in-law he'd sheltered without question. He'd sleep well in a condo he owned, with a conscience he could face. One man had everything and lost it all trying to prove he was somebody. The other had nothing and proved he was everything. My daughter hadn't married poorly. She'd married wisely. She'd chosen character over cash, substance over show, love over leverage. Bradley had been right about one thing, she did deserve better. That's exactly why she chose James.